All right, and we're recording. What's up, Tori?
What's up, Omar?
Is it Tori Mechiz?
Macy's like the department store.
Macy's. Why is it spelled so
Yeah.
awesome? Where's it come
You
from?
know, my husband is German and I think it's just spelled phonetically. I'm not quite sure
Okay,
how it's that way, but yeah, Macy's like the department store.
I love it. I'm gonna crack open this First Form energy drink.
What are
Um,
you drinking?
I'm doing Blue Blitz. Cheers.
That that is my favorite and cheers to water.
I have that too over here, but you have to have a little bit of both.
Listen, if I hadn't already consumed as much caffeine as I had to have the courage to be here today, I would be joining you with that blue Blitz. It's chef's kiss.
Um, well, I'll tell you why I wanted to chat with you, Tori, and hopefully, not even hopefully, I know it's going to be an awesome conversation. So, uh, I've had this idea, I've tried it before, but I've had this idea of just chatting with people that get after it. And not only get after it, but people that just like something in their life has happened emotionally, so financially, just something that they're like, I need to change or I need to improve or something like that. And they start doing they start making the steps to make it happen. And along that path, they find this they find that they had it within themselves the entire time, and it like encourages them to keep going further even when they don't think they can. But what happens is you start getting messages from other people, family, friends, neighbors, whoever, that that say, "Hey, Tori, I've seen your progress. You inspire me. I want you to know," something like that. And I like to call those everyday heroes because they're the people that are at arm's reach that can really like motivate you to do the thing. So that's why I wanted to chat with you, and so thank you, for taking some time to have a conversation with me today.
Well, Omar, I'm so honored to be able to do this with you, and I have loved following your journey. I mean, I found you in the 75 Hard community, and I utilized your podcast that you did with Andy Persella for any of my challengers that are going to join me on a round of 75 Hard. It is a requirement to be a part of my group for them to listen to your podcast. So, it is. It is an honor to be here and to get to just have a conversation. And I love what you're doing with the Everyday Heroes and to see where you were even 4 years ago to where you are now. It's just been so rad and to have a front row seat to like you growing your brand and your own business. It's just been awesome. So thank you so much for this opportunity.
Well, let's get into it, Tori. Now that we gas each other up, let's go. um,
Let's go.
for whoever doesn't know you, who are you? Who's Tori Macy's?
I am just an ordinary woman that is trying to help the ordinary woman do extraordinary things. And I am an entrepreneur. I have done many of things. And my favorite thing is just linking arms with other entrepreneur women and helping them build their business and also helping women in their fitness and their confidence and just helping coach them through their fitness and wellness journey. So that's just a little bit about me. I'm a wife. I've been with my husband for, we got married in 2006, but we've been together since 2004. And I got two boys. I have one about ready to go off to college in a couple of weeks here, and one that's going to be a junior in high school. So it's just a totally different season. Um, but yeah, that's a little bit about me. I'm just here to help the ordinary woman do extraordinary things.
Well, I love it. And I have a question for you. On your Instagram profile, I don't know if you did this intentionally or it just happens to be this way. I wrote down the 4 F's. I don't know if that's
Okay.
ever crossed your mind. I'm sure it
Yeah.
has, but it's like faith, family, fashion, fitness, right?
Yeah.
I just like literally I looked at it and I thought for sure this is either intentional and it's like part of your like life mantra, or it just happened like to fall that place. So you have the 4 F's: faith, family, fashion, fitness. Where did that like originate from?
I have 5 pillars that I try to always talk about on my social media, and I put it in the importance in my life, and my faith is my foundation. I did 75 hard. It completely changed my life. I uprooted my whole entire family because I recommitted my life to Christ while doing 75 hard at 5:30 in the morning on the streets of Bakersfield on a really hot, hot morning. And I just, it literally transformed my entire life. I had been listening to Andy's podcast, and I felt like, okay, I feel like I need to do something else during this time too. Like, I love listening to his podcast, but I want to listen to some other things. So I said, you know what, I'm going to go ahead and listen to a sermon. I got saved when I was 15 years old. And a lot of my life from then up until 2021, I felt like I just had one foot into like living a life for Christ and the other one very much in the world. And I felt this huge conviction about that. And one day I had stumbled across a pastor named Pastor Stephen Furtick, and that day I pushed play. I listened to 131 of his podcast, and he changed the way that I saw God's word so much that I uprooted my family and moved here to North Carolina and to be a part of that church. And my faith is foundational. Something that has always been a part of my business and has always been discouraged. Like, you don't mix your faith with your business. And I've always been that person to kind of push the envelope, you know? And during that time, when I started 75 Hard early 2021, all the way till we moved here in June of 2021, my life just radically changed. I mean, so many different things were happening physically, mentally, and I just want to be a person that makes heaven crowded. Like, that is my ultimate mission, is that I hope when people come to my page or they listen to my stories or they go onto my social media, that they see something different about me and that I am that representation of Christ. I hope to God that I represent that. But I have a pretty powerful testimony. My life hasn't always been rainbows and sunshine. I've done a lot of things that I'm not proud of, but I get to use that for God's glory now.
Amen, sister. um, you know, it's interesting. First of all, thank you for sharing that. I'm not necessarily. I've been in faith. I was raised Mormon. I was a Mormon missionary. I was married in the Mormon temple at some point in my life. So faith, family, following Christ has been something that's been in my life. Have I taken a different path? Absolutely. But it doesn't, and I'll probably circle back at this in some of the other questions, but faith in general, I believe, is so important. And
Mm-hmm.
I have a tinfoil hat right to this side of me, and sometimes, I think like the world revolves around this human or this person that lived named Christ. It's 2025 AD, after death. It's not 200 BC before Christ. So just that one little thing that the entire world can agree on, like, to me, is pretty fascinating. I also want to shout out your husband, because unless he's always been a faithful man or a believer in Christ or whatever it is, to say, and I don't know if he like, yeah, I can get a job anywhere, and maybe that's like, that was an easy thing, but shout out to your husband. And I guess both of you guys maybe want to talk on this, but there has to be a good communication between you guys for him to say, hey, you know what, this is what you want to do. I want to support you. And to, like you said, uproot, to move, to follow this your pastor. Did I say that right? Pastor?
Yeah. 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 I mean, my husband's amazing. He's always been one to always, any dream, anything that I've ever aspired to do, he's always encouraged me to do it. And he's always wanted to move out of California. I mean, you live there, Omar. When I met
Mhm.
you, you were living in LA, and like California, I love it. It's beautiful, but it's not what it was when I was a little girl. I was born and raised there. And this was like my husband's ticket to get out of California. And granted, him and I did build the business that we had. We had an amazing boutique. We had staff. We had all of that. We lived in our dream home in California. And I literally had come home one day after listening to an old sermon from 2018 that my pastor had preached. And this family had come from California to the end year offering at our church. And they said that they were never going to go back, and they didn't. They just uprooted and moved. And I just was moved so emotionally. I've never felt that in my life, where like I would leave my dream house, my dream job, my dream friends, my family that lived only a couple miles away, like all of it, to pursue something that I felt like I was no longer just wanting to be a consumer. I was ready to actually go out and be the feet, the hands, and actually do something, and not just do it from afar, but come here and actually help and do something bigger than what I could have possibly thought. But my husband has been always amazing. Anything I've ever wanted to try or to do, he's always encouraged me. And I wish I could tell you that it was super easy. Like, we moved, we came over here, he found the dream job, and we've had zero problems. No, um, it has been the hardest 4 years of our lives. The most trying, the most stripping back of everything. But I can tell you with confidence today, in all of that stripping, it's made our marriage stronger. It's made our family stronger, because guess what? At the end of the day, we only have each other. It's our little family of four. And before, we had all the outside noise, we had our families right here all the time, and our friends, and all of the things. And when you have nothing but each other, you have a choice of either you're going to be completely broken and your family's going to fall apart, or you lean in. And I'm grateful for my husband, because he is a very, very strong believer, and his faith is actually what has kept me going, because there's been a lot of times where I've questioned my faith, and I'm like, I don't even know if I believe in Jesus. And my husband would sit down and be like, Tori, here is the evidence. And so I'm grateful for him, and that he's always been that kind of person where no matter what it is in my life, he will sacrifice everything, his dreams, his aspirations, to make me happy, which, has been a downfall as well, because it's not great, to do that. But I value him so much, because he always has put me above himself. Like, he has always done that. Any dream, he's like, let's do it. Let's do it.
What's your husband's name?
Brian,
Shout out, Brian. You're a good man.
he is a good man.
That's really cool. It's interesting. So I sold door-to-door alarms in Bakersfield and
Yeah.
Lancaster and Palm. So I know like that whole area very, very well. And a lot of people that I did meet there were raised there. They'll live there. It's like you're close enough to LA. You're close enough to some beaches, and you're far enough away where it's not like you could still afford, a reasonable house.
Hmm.
Um, when I look at that type of lifestyle to even here where I live in Utah, especially, well, yeah, just Utah in general. I don't know if you've ever been out to Salt Lake City or Provo, but um, very heavy on family and religion, and it plays a big role in the communities, which is why, Utah is, for the most part, named like one of the friendliest, safest places in the country. What I find interesting, though, is you can, especially when you have your, like you said, friends and family, you can start comparing yourself way too much to other people, and other people's success, and it could be damaging because your success and your life outlook is different than someone else's. And if you start, like wanting to believe, like you were saying, that you're following what your heart was saying. If you start following your path, sometimes you'll have other voices that will try to distract you from that. Um, what was it, like, why did you just decide, like, hey, I'm not listening to these outside voices and we need to do this?
I just had this feeling that this was going to be the best yes. And I could not shake it. And we literally did not tell our family, our friends. I didn't tell my staff. I didn't tell a soul until we had already made an offer and we were moving forward. We gathered our whole entire family because we knew they weren't going to agree with our life choice. We had one set of parents that were like, "Oh, you're a part of like a cult. You're a part um of this church that we agree with." And then the other side of our family, like, "How could you do this? Like, how can you move that far away? Like, that's crazy."
Mm,
And so if we would have listened to that, it would have held us back. And I have my entire life been a people pleaser, and it's something I've worked so diligently over the past 4 years to move past. Is like, you know what? Life is too short to care and put the weight of that when I know that it is more important for our family to move forward. And if we wouldn't have moved, we would have just stayed comfortable. And in that comfort, I think that our family would have backslid, especially me, somebody that's been contending in my sobriety for almost 5 years. I think that I would have given into the pressure of being around people who I love, that like to party, and that I used to bring down with me and engage in those things. And my house, my business, all of it, like, I was bringing people into doing things that I personally would not do now. Like, I have heavy conviction about, like constantly throwing these lavish parties and everybody getting drunk and getting high and all this stuff. And I think that if we would have stayed there, that would have like been the way that our life would have went back to. And it was like, no, we need this change. I'm terrified. We literally knew zero people. I knew nobody here, and my husband knew nobody. But what I've seen is my kids have grown so much. They're doing scary things. I see my oldest son who is living out his dream. He's an amazing podcaster. He's fantastic at researching, and he has such aspirations. And it's like, if he would have stayed back there, I don't think he would have ever explored. And it was like, because he had to figure out a way to connect to people, and that was his outlet. And then my youngest son, it gave him an opportunity, like, okay, well, what am I going to do? And he's always wanted to be in the military. And this got him into ROTC, being here in North Carolina. And I think about that. If we would have stayed back, would Peyton be pursuing his dream of becoming a journalist and working for Disney one day? And would my son continue to want to be in the military? And like, he's very specific about what he wants to do law in the military. Like, I don't know. I don't think that they would have. I think they would have gotten a little bit more comfortable and maybe just kind of stayed in our hometown. Like you said, people in Bakersfield, they don't move. They stay there pretty much their entire life. And there's generations upon generations of people that have lived there, and it would have just kept us back, you know?
Yeah, I actually do know. I That's really well said. And when you said you had a part of your family say that you're joining a cult, trust me when I say like I know what you mean because um, again, I look outside. I love my community, and I know that 90% of these people are a part of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, and that's fine. We do joke around like, dude, that is a cult, but it's like the best cult, right? It's like and it's a joke, but it's like kind of true, like so because bottom line is, and this is just my opinion, whether you decide to join the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints or the church that you and your family are a part of, the center isn't the guys, the center is Christ. So at least that's my opinion. That's what it makes sense
Mhm.
to me. Can I ask you a couple things? Number one, I do think you touch on something interesting, the responsibility that kind of the weight, right? Because like as a business owner, I do think about this. The I'm not going to throw a lavish party, but I do know that company parties, for the most part, will involve that. Whether it's
Mhm.
if exactly what you said, alcohol and weed, like it's going to be at every party. It's just facts. We're like, let's not pretend like it's not, unless it's like a real event that it's not going to be there. But for the most part, corporate events, so, it's going to be there. The the setting the example is super important, and taking ownership, I think, is really cool and really important. My question to you is, why don't you think you would have changed?
Yeah, so I'm just going to be completely honest with you. I contend every day with my sobriety. Today, for example, my husband and I, my youngest son's birthday is on Friday. He's going to be 16 years old and he's having a birthday party today. And we had to go down the alcohol aisle, which butts up to where all the Coke products are. And my eyes always wander over to the alcohol. I'm an alcoholic and I'm somebody that has to contend every single day. Because let me tell you, Omar, seeing that, I'm still tempted. And I'm almost 5 years into my sobriety. And it's something that I know it's in my blood to be addicted to things, to get addicted to things very easily. And being around other people who are constantly encouraging that behavior, I learned that I cannot put myself in those environments. And I'm a weak person. So if you invite me every single weekend to go on, girls' night out or double date, and everybody's drinking but me, guess what? At some point in time, I'm going to break.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to do it. And there's been many of times since I've moved here, and I was so depressed because I have no family, I have no friends, and I'm literally sitting in the parking lot crying on the verge of just like running into the store and grabbing a bottle of wine, champagne, or beer, and then throwing it out before I get home, and nobody's going to know. And so for me, like being in that environment, and that would have been a lot easier, to go backwards because it's just like, well, I don't have to stay sober. I can go back. And the whole reason that I contend every single day is because I do not want my children and my future grandchildren to have to struggle like me.
Mm-hmm.
I have had so many physical issues happen to my body that I can't ever undo. I have lymphedema in my legs. Guess why? My drinking problems. And there's so many things that I have done physically to myself that I've brought upon shame to my family, all these things. And I'm like, that's why I keep telling my children, like, please don't do this. It's not worth it. And you're going to love it so much because me and your dad love drinking. We love smoking weed. And so we can tell you with confidence that you too are, because we both come from families that struggled with alcoholism. So, yeah, that's the answer to your first one. It's that comfort.
Yeah, no, honestly, Tori, thank you again for being so open about that. It's like, number one, when you see someone like you and you see them on the street, you're probably like, damn, Tori's got it all together. Family, fit, always smiling, whatever. But whoever listens to this is going to be like, damn, actually, she understands the one thing that she really struggles with. And it's important enough to her to see not just tomorrow, but you're thinking, you said grandchildren. I was like, hey, you know what? I respect that so much, because what I don't think, I really don't, until I hear from someone like you don't know what you're passing on to not only your kids, but to their kids, because it's in your DNA. So your kids already have that DNA from both you and your husband. And if you are addicted to something like you say you are, chances are they probably have that gene too at some capacity. So if they can learn to if you can be disciplined and be the example, and then your kids see that, or are at least distanced from it, right? Because eventually they're going to have to make their own choices. They already have to make their own choices, but they will be much more equipped um, to make the better choice, because it's not even, in my opinion, and this is from experience, it's not even an option. Like, you don't like, and I say it's not an option because when I got back from being a Mormon missionary and I started getting involved in the music scene, I went out all the time and I never drank. Not and I didn't smoke weed. The thought of it never like crossed my mind. It wasn't even a hard no. It was sorry, yeah, it was just like, nope, I'm good. And granted, people knew that, and so I was the quote unquote DD, sober friend, whatever. And I was okay with that. I love what you said, that you're like, hey, at some point I'm in a crack, and I'd rather just not be around that. And it's hard to make that choice. It's hard to rip that Band-Aid, and it's hard to actually, and this is hard for your friends to hear, but it's hard to say like, hey, you guys are also like, I don't want to be around that. And I'm sorry,
Yeah.
but I just got to move.
Actually, when I moved here, before I moved, I was researching people. Like, I literally was looking up the hashtag Waxhaw, North Carolina to look for friends. I was shopping for friends, no joke. And I found this group of girls, and they invited me in right away and started inviting me to all their events. Well, guess what? Their events all revolved around alcohol. And I got to a point where I just had to be really honest. And I said, listen, I cannot hang out anymore because I am too weak of a person. And sadly, those people have chosen to completely remove themselves from my life. And it just showed me so much of like growth in myself that, hey, you know what? At the end of the day, it's more important for me to protect what I've been contending for so many years versus the temporary of having quote unquote friends. Because at the end of the day, if you go to somebody and they're your actual friend and they tell you, listen, I'm struggling in this area, a friend, a true friend, is going to come alongside you and lift up your arms and say, you know what? Wow, thank you so much for sharing that. I'm going to do everything to protect that. Why don't we figure out some other ways to hang out? Like, we don't have to do mimosas. We don't have to do brunch and drink. We don't have to go out and have mom's night out, wine, this, whatever. Like, why don't we get in some healthy movement and go on a walk, or let's just go grab coffee and actually have a conversation? And it really just showed me so much about true friends and also prioritizing what's really important. Like, I much rather, instead of being part of like the cool kids, I've never actually been a part of that group. You know, I've always been really weird and never really fit in. But what I've realized is that it's important to me to much rather have a small little group of women who are going to pour into me. They're going to make me stronger in my faith. They're going to make me a better wife, a better mom, a better friend, and a better businesswoman. That's who I want to be around, because it is so true. The five people we spend the most amount of time with are the people that we emulate. And so if I'm choosing five who one of their first things they like to do is drink, guess what? I'm too going to do that. And so it's just really taught me so much about myself and what's important to me and the kind of people that I want pouring into me that I reflect. Like, because you take on that energy, you take on their mannerisms, you take on what they're doing. And that's just not what I want. That's not what's important to me. Because, like you said, at the end of the day, that's what I think about every single time that I am this close to drinking. It's not just about me. It's not just about my kids. It's literally about my future grandchildren. I don't want them to be so sloppy drunk that they black out and don't know what in the world just happened and then wake up the next day feeling like crap. And so if that means me sacrificing that temporary numbness and feeling of being drunk or high, it's all worth it at the end of the day. Like that's
You
it.
know, I'm gonna tell you something. Since you've been like super open, I don't have a problem with alcohol personally, like to the level that you do, but I am very self-aware of the self-harm that it does to myself. And what I mean is, and this is why I like to do 75 hard and do it, not sometimes like right now, like I'll just live the lifestyle, but not commit to the 75 days because I know, like, hey, I know that there's something along here that I just, I want to participate in that barbecue. You know what? What I get at is this, and why I do it, because I have a problem with beating myself up. It comes from religion. It comes from never feeling good enough. It comes from like you're just never going to be good enough, and I know that's something, I've dove into it. I know where it stems from. Now, fast forward as an adult, if you always still have that feeling, I'm not good enough at my job, I'm not good enough at whatever, and then you add alcohol to that, what happens to me is I go down to negative, like I'm already beating myself up. So then I'll beat myself up even more. And I won't get like blackout drunk, anything like that. But it's enough to where, one thing of beer can stimulate you. That's all you really need. Um,
Right.
and I'm not encouraging anyone to do this, but what I'm saying at is, for me, what I realize is it pushes me further along the negative path that I don't want to think about. And then once the next day happens, I'm aware of everything that happened, everything I thought, but then I feel even more like shit because I gave up on the goal I had of not drinking for X amount of days, or I get into a different type of negative self-talk, which is, see, if you can't do that, you can't do this. So it didn't really fix any problems. It actually amplified the problem I'm trying to avoid, which is discipline. And so that's something that I struggle with, which is why, like, I don't have it to the extent that to your level, but to a level I do, because I know the effect that it has. And I think that more people should be aware of how things affect them on their day-to-day life, because the day-to-day life compounds into where you are today and where you're going to be at in 2 years.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that most of us, if we're really honest with ourselves, we do have some part of us, or it is a really, really big issue, is with making this forward progression and then you self-sabotage. You're like this close to peaking and being able to hit this milestone, or you just hit it and then you just completely derail what you've been working for so hard. And I'm the same way. Like, I'm never going to be good enough. I'm never going to be fit enough. I'm never going to be all these different things that are in my head. And it's just like you said, like we will do something and then you just feel completely like garbage and you feel this guilt about the choice that you just made. And it's like, when does that stop? Like, when do we just say enough is enough? And that temporary little fix, I mean, it could be anything. It doesn't have to just be substances. I mean, people turn to food, they turn to shopping, they turn to gambling, they turn to porn, whatever it is, like to just get that fix for what? Just to make you feel worse? Like, it's really not worth it. And I think that that's a lot of what happens is that we don't have the discipline or the fortitude or the grit to think forward of like, okay, well, what is the actual consequence of this choice that I'm going to make?
Mm.
Like, yes, I'm going to feel good during this time, but then the lasting effects of that, because when you drink, that's in your system for a minimum of 72 hours. So after that, you know, you might go hit the
No
gym
wonder.
and all do these things,
And
but
I
guess
still
what?
feel like
You're
shit.
all exactly, because it's still in your system and you're not going to get the same results in those 72 hours that you would have if you would have been not consuming those things, you know? So it's like just thinking about things a little bit further in the future. Like, is this really worth it? This one thing really worth the all the hard work that I've put in? And that's how I have had to even break down right now of, I'm doing phase one. This is the second attempt at phase one. Last time I failed on day 30, and
What
I'm
was
not going
it?
to do it. My kids told me, Mom has to do another workout. And I was putting 75 hard and phase one above my kids. And I was so convicted about that because I never want my kids to ever feel like I'm putting something above them. I did that for a lot of years, chasing my career. I built a massive career for 8 years, traveled a lot, didn't spend very much of any time with my kids. There were a lot of times that I wasn't even home for 10 days in a month because I was traveling so much for my job. And when my children said that to me, I said, there's nothing worth sacrificing time with my kids versus me hitting a milestone of being able to say that I accomplished phase one. And, a lot of people were like cheering me on, like, that's so amazing. Like, good for you for choosing. But at the same time, I'm like dying inside because
You
I
know,
made that choice. But
but you learn how to like. It's funny. I had something similar happen. I was I was like 20, 30 days, something like that, into 75 hard, and then we had a team celebration, and we went out. We went out to a bar. We did, anyways, and I had told myself like I know I can say no, so it's not like a thing. And one of the things that I was really battling, thinking about, was just like, if you say no, no one no one's gonna care. They're gonna be like, ah, and just move on, with their day. But I thought I need to share a drink with them because this was like a bonding thing. It was like the drink together meant something. It wasn't like, hey, we just were having happen to have a drink, with our meal. There was something that, as a team, it was like a really like special thing. And I told myself in that moment, like, it made sense, and it really like, brought us together. Um, I can't remember why I was telling you that. What were you just saying that made me think that? Um, it doesn't matter. I'm not saying people should do it, but having good people that support you is important. And oh, that's right. It was the 75 hard on the braking. I knew. I was like, hey, the thing doesn't matter. What matters is this moment. And guess what? I'm still gonna do everything else. And tomorrow, I'm not gonna feel like shit because I'm not getting smashed. I'm just gonna wake up and get after it again. And I did, by the way. But that was an important thing to learn. Uh, what was your
proud of you for
business that
that
you
because
built?
most people,
Thank you.
oh, you're welcome. I actually started with LuLaRoe. I'm not sure if you have heard of it, but LuLaRoe is a MLM. It's still around, and actually, the owners are a part of the LDS Church. And I was one
Makes
of the
sense.
first people to join them. And I started in October of 2013, and it was only a couple months old, and it was selling women's clothing. It started all with maxi skirts. And I was given this opportunity because I had hosted a party myself, and I sold 50 skirts. And the girl was like,
Damn.
whoa, like, how did you
Yeah.
sell that much? She's like, girl, like, this is amazing. And she ended up moving from Bakersfield back to Utah because she was LDS as well. There was actually only two of us when I joined for a really long time that were not a part of the LDS church. And at the time, there was like only one person per region that
Good
could
news.
sell
Those girls
LuLaRoe.
wouldn't drink.
And they don't. But I'm not going to say anything else of the things that they did. But
Oh, I
um,
know.
so I started off this business selling maxi skirts, and I just blew up. I traveled everywhere. I would be like, hey, if somebody lives somewhere, I will go there. I went up and down all of California to book pop-ups, and I was signing up people left and right. Even flew to Colorado, was doing pop-ups there, and my team blew up. I had people on my team all over the United States. I had 19,000 women under me. So
Wow.
when I was traveling, I was going to meet my team. I was going and speaking on large stages to help inspire other women and men that they too could do this. And so it was something that just started off as maxi skirts and blew up to, I became an accidental leader. I'd never led a team. I'd never done anything like this. I'd never spoken on a stage. And here I found myself, literally my life transformed in the drop of a hat. And I had to learn a lot of life skills and a lot of things very, very quickly that made me grow so much as a businesswoman, as a leader. And I am so grateful for the things that I learned in LuLaRoe, because some of those things that I learned and those principles are still foundational of how I run my business today. And I'm forever grateful for that because it taught me so much. And but yeah, that's what I did for 8 years.
Dude, that is so cool. That's the hardest job, by the way, to do an event, pitch people on an MLM, and you cry. So shout out. And it's so funny. In fact, I believe I can't pull it up, but I believe that the number one place for MLMs is Utah, if I'm not mistaken, in the
Yeah.
entire world. Uh,
Yeah.
but for me, it makes total sense. In fact, one of my really good friends owns one, and it crushes. It's called Truvy, Truvy. Um, anyway, something that came to mind while you were talking about this accidental leader, and and I think it kind of parallels with your faith. But what do you feel in the last few years? Like, what's your life? What's a life philosophy? Normally, this is my last question, but let me ask, actually, I'll ask the life philosophy last. You can think about that. But what do you think is your life calling? Not philosophy, but what's your like calling?
My calling on life is two things: to make heaven crowded, and number two is to help ordinary women do extraordinary things. When I say that, I was just an average girl. I barely graduated high school. I actually graduated a month late because I was a party animal, and I didn't really go to school. Like, I just literally was drunk and high all the time and really never showed up to school. And I tried college, it was not for me. And I truly just thought, well, I'm just gonna like do whatever, like I didn't have any real aspirations. And I thought, well, if I don't go to college, I'm never gonna amount to anything. Like, I'm just gonna have a whatever job and just accept that as life. And when I was given an opportunity to start with a company and start my own business with $2,000 to start a business, a clothing business that my mother-in-law fronted the money to pay for. I was like, okay, I have my mother-in-law believing in me. I can do this. And my husband actually lost his job a couple of months after I had started. And I had called LuLaRoe and I told them I'm sending everything back because I need that money so that I could pay my mortgage.
Mm.
And the owner of LuLaRoe called me and she said to me, and it still like brings tears to my eyes because I had never felt this in my life. And she said to me, I believe in you. You have a job, you are equipped, and you can do this. I am paying for you to come to Utah next month, and then you are going to come on the first LuLaRoe cruise, and you are going to do this. And she had this like belief in me that was so powerful. And it wasn't just about money. Let me tell you that. It was like, no, she was invested in my life. I had spent at that point in time going there every single week, that 4 hour drive to Corona from Bakersfield, and then the 4 hours back, and fostering that relationship with her, that she truly believed in me. And I never had anybody do that. And so I have just thought, if somebody like her can believe in an ordinary girl who doesn't have any special talents or this education or isn't a leader and can pour into me and see the value that I have, I want to be able to do that for other women because there's so many women out there that are like me. They're like, well, I'm not a person for school. I am not one that wants to go and work inside of an office. I want to be at home with my kids and I want to be a present mom and a present wife. I want to give that opportunity to other women. And that is what my life mission is. And all while being a light for Jesus. That's my number one. If anything, if I have impacted one person's life to come to know Jesus Christ, I feel like that is worth everything versus the accolades and helping other women be successful. And so at the end of the day, when I'm in front of Jesus and God, if that is something that he says, well done, good and faithful servant, I know that I've done my job here on earth. And then secondly, helping people just like myself who are looking for an opportunity to be able to just do extraordinary things that they never thought was possible.
Amen, sister. um, it's and that's why it's on your Instagram. That makes sense now. I love it. I think you're incredibly self-aware, and not it, I could say, "Oh, you're self-aware," and just say it, but it's in your actions. The evidence is in your actions and what you do, and I think that's a really beautiful thing, and how you've devoted yourself to the path that you have is very commendable. Even more commendable is that you don't waver from your faith and choices when it's difficult and you make the harder choice. And you know this through what you do in fitness and everything else. A harder choice is always the better choice. It's just facts. No one wants to do the hard thing because it's hard.
Right.
Everyone will, do the easier thing because it's easier. Um, I've just maybe one last topic and then we'll wrap it up. Um, all the actions that you've done, you becoming a leader, you doing your business, moving and all those things. When I look at your Instagram, I'm going to flip it to marketing. One thing that you've done incredibly well, and I'm sure you know this, is you've learned to become a brand. And every person is a brand at some capacity. What's it like being a user, a UGC? What's it like being a real, modern day creator?
Well, first of all, I don't feel that I am that person, so thank you so much, Omar, because that is very kind of you to say about me. The thing that I have learned in my journey of being on social media in all of these years is just be yourself. Somebody is looking for exactly who you are. And that's what I've branded myself in, is like my insecurities, the things that I struggle with the most. Me being vulnerable and sharing those things with the world is what makes the biggest impact. And I think about it every single day when I talk on my stories. I'm thinking about the one person. I'm not thinking about, trying to impact so many. I think about one person today that I can give them a tip of the day from Tori, or just sharing my struggle or a victory, that it inspires them to want to move forward. And that's what keeps me going. And before, when I was in LuLaRoe, I was so over consumed and overwhelmed by like what everybody thought about me. Okay, well, what is this going to make me look like? And always trying to present myself in a way where it's like always keeping up with the Joneses, always having the nicest everything. And it's like God really humbled me. And when I'm telling you, He has stripped us back, He has, because I went from throwing lavish parties to now teaching moms how to put dinner on the table for $5. Legit. And it's like in that, people have connected with me. Like literally, if you're like me and you're struggling to find a budget-friendly meal that your whole family is gonna like, I got one for you that's gonna take less than 10 minutes and cost your family $5, and this is what it is. Those kinds of things. It's being just that person where I am giving and not expecting to receive back. And I think that's one of my very favorite things that I've learned in just this year of being a Legionnaire with First Form, is just always being somebody that can be of education and to help other people. It's not about sales. It's about actually making a life impact. And that's what I think about every single day that I show up. How can I make a life impact today? How can I bring joy to somebody's life today? How can I help a person with whatever the thing that I'm struggling with? And I think when you can stop caring about what other people think and start thinking about how can I serve those who are tuning into my channel today, who are choosing to watch my podcast or watch my stories or come and check out my feed, how can I do something to better their life? And I promise you, the second that you do that, everything starts to shift. I, since becoming a Legionnaire, it's changed everything for me because, before, I've been in the MLM space since 2013. And it's always about sales, generating sales, generating sales, generating sales. And when you become a part of a community and a family where they're teaching you, no, it's not about sales. It's literally about making lifelong transformations for people and actually impacting them for the better. That is the best gift that was ever given to me. It's like I'm finally in a space where it's not about that. It's actually about what can you do today to make a lasting impression and help make a lasting transformation in people's lives.
I hope Andy will at least somehow stumble across this. But when I have so much respect for Andy, because he has like this really special, like I really feel that his purpose, he already knows it. Dude, what he's done and will do when he's like long past to help humans around the world find purpose and give and be healthier and be better. Dude, it's like, I hear you talk and about this community and how it's changed your life and the lessons that you're learning about giving. None of that would be possible if it wasn't for the dude that got stabbed in the face and then
Right.
and still had compassion on another person, and then struggled for 10, 13 years, and then it clicked that, hey, it's not about money, it's about seeing that human transformation. So that's why I love First Form. I just buy it. I don't they don't pay me. I'm not part of any of the things, but I I support I support them because of what they stand for, and
Right.
that's like the best. And it boils down to, look at you, like you're a part of the brand. You rep the brand. You are the brand. Hashtag I am first forum. That's what's up.
Mm-hmm.
Like you lead,
What's up?
you lead from the front. Honestly, I think this might be a good place to end. Your life philosophy would be the last question. I'll still ask it, but I feel like you've covered it. What is your life philosophy?
Go out there and make heaven crowded. Don't care about what other people think about you sharing your faith, and go out there and help ordinary women or men do extraordinary things. And you're going to make a lifelong impact on those that are around you. And I will just want to end with saying that that's my life goal, is to one day to thank Andy for changing my life. He truly has. If I would have never done the 75 hard program, I wouldn't be here. I wouldn't even know you, Omar. I would have never listened to that podcast. I wouldn't be living in North Carolina, and I 100% would not be a Legionnaire. But when I decided this year, and I had hit rock bottom again, and I wanted to make a transformation with my mind, I was like, I have to go back to what I know, and that is 75 hard, and what Andy created in that discipline in the mind shifts that will happen, and going back to my first love or first form. And honestly, it's been the best decision every single time I do it. Every single time I do 75 hard, and I give it my all. And you know what's up. Like, there
Yeah,
are times where you start it and it's just not it. But when I have, it has been a life transformation. And yeah, I would love to be able to tell him that in person one day. So hopefully he stumbles across this.
I'm sure.
And,
I'm sure he'll
and
see it
Omar,
somehow.
yeah, thank you so much. It's such an honor. And like I said, it's been awesome to get to know you because of the 75 Hard community, and just getting to see everything that you have just done. And it's just been awesome to have a front row seat to just the transformation, even in how you market and the genius that you and your team are. It's just so rad. And I love seeing you right here in your studio and
That's
getting
right.
after it, and proud of you.
Thank you,
Very proud of
Tori.
you.
Thank you. Well, you're an everyday
You're
hero,
welcome.
and have a beautiful rest of your week.
Thank you.